Cool. So this is the NWC Show, episode 46, and if you would like to introduce yourself.
My name's Crusher Craib, and I wrestle for WrestleZone up in Aberdeen.
And thanks for taking the time out of your day to come on, especially early on a Saturday.
No, that's fine.
So, first question, like I say, is what we always start with. It's a question that you've probably answered 1,000 times. Is what got you into wrestling? What was that moment you were like, "This is my thing"?
Well, when I was a kid, my mum watched wrestling, and like I said, my granddad watched wrestling as well. So it's always kind of been in the house, you know. So I think I started really getting into it when I first saw the Undertaker with the white mask, the Phantom mask.
Yeah.
I think the first actual match that I watched was the Undertaker and Bret Hart at Rumble '96.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, I remember Sting being on the TV, but I never really watched it properly when I was a kid. You know, I was just always doing my own thing. But when I first saw the Undertaker, that's when I got kind of hooked into it.
Yeah, I was quite similar. When I first saw Sting is when I got hooked into it. But
All right.
I remember it being on in the background, like just being there and standing watching it as a kid. But I wasn't really paying attention to it. But then when I saw Sting, it was like a Saturday show for WCW and here in the UK, and I was like, this is what I need to watch. And since then, it's just been like an obsession. So
yeah,
can blame Sting for this podcast if it doesn't go well.
No, that's all good. Sting's awesome, so that's all good.
How long have you been in the business? How long have you been participating?
I debuted in May 2009, so it's been like 12 years. So yeah.
What was your thought process and journey of like starting that? Because I remember when I first started wrestling training, I was shit scared to go. I was like a 12-year-old going to like turning up to middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much the same. I mean, I ended up going to Glasgow for my first training seminar. It was quite daunting, but like, you know, like when I got back to Aberdeen, it's like it cost a lot of bus fares and all this other things to get down there. You know, if you're going down that way, you need to kind of be committed and always be showing up like regularly. So some of my friends, they said to me that there was a new wrestling school opening up in Kirkcaldy at the time. And we ended up just all chipping in and go down in cars. And yeah, and when I went there, they were very welcoming. So it was just easier down in Kirkcaldy. So yeah, it was quite nice and relaxed, to be fair.
And that's when I was younger, it was through in Linwood, which is like in the middle of nowhere. So I live in Glasgow. Linwood's in the middle of nowhere. It's an industrial estate, and like it was just in like one of the industrial garage kind of things.
Okay, yeah.
In there, and I was like a 12-year-old turning up on a Sunday. It was only the bus you could get was at 7:30 in the morning, and back was at like 6 at night. But training finished at 5. So you're just kind of stoating around in the middle of nowhere. As a 12-year-old now, for my kids, I'm like, no way would I let them go do that. But I lied to my mum, said I was working in a shop to go to wrestling training. But a journey from Aberdeen to Glasgow is a lot of people don't realise it's a trek because there's not that much.
Yeah, it is quite a trek as well. Me and my two other friends that went down, none of us drove, so you know it was just a case of getting a bus down.
Yeah,
so it's a lot. Plus, you're there for 4 hours at a training seminar, and then like afterwards, you're just totally wiped out. You just sleep on the bus back.
Especially the buses. A lot of people might not know what buses are like between Glasgow and Aberdeen here. If you've not got a window seat, the windows aren't opening, and the person never ever opens them, and you're sweating the whole way. Because I remember going up there for a wrestling show one time, and I was in this bus, and I was like, "Oh, can you open the window?" And the woman was like, "No." And I was like, "The next guy, can you open the window?" He's like, "No." And I was just sweating the whole way up there. I got off it looking like I was in a sauna. But it was one of those now the cheap like mega bus, like it's like £1 or £2, whatever it is. And I was just sweating, but it was cheap, so I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah, it's the way it is, man.
And what was your kind of? Why did you start wrestling training? Was it just I could see myself doing this, or you wanted to kind of pursue that?
Well, I just you know, when you're a kid and you're into it, I think all kids want to do it. You know, like when they start watching it as a fan, and then when you get to the teenage stage, it's still there. You want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think all fans of wrestling at some point in their life have thought about, you know, I'd like to do that, you know. So yeah, that's how it was just there.
Man, I was pretty much the same as well. Like, I obviously have like that story when I was 12 and going out to like, the middle of nowhere, but people keep like, so what was the reason for going as well? And I'm like, I just thought I would go try it. Like, it was just, there was nothing, literally nothing else to do. There was no social media back in 2002 when you're a 12-year-old, or 2003, whatever age I was at that time.
Yeah.
But I found it on the internet, like a weird website, and I just went, because what else was I going to do with my life back then? Is it?
Yeah.
The past couple of podcasts I've had has been people around about similar age as me, and we've been talking about like VHSs and stuff, and I'm realising that I'm starting to sound like a really old person because my kids have no clue what they are.
I was brought up with VHS as well. I mean, they were the best. They were better than DVDs.
Man, see, people won't understand having to rewind back to get to that match that you want, or fast forward, you end up going too fast and stuff like that, which is, I think, you ruin the VHS when your mum shouts at you and stuff like that. I had that a lot.
Yeah, I got that a lot as well, to be fair. Or, you know, like when your video recorder used to get like to the point where you've used the tape so much, and when you take it out, all the tape film just comes out with it. It's like, oh no.
You're trying to fix it, cut it before like
before your mum comes home.
You just put it back in the box and leave it, which it's insane to see how much wrestling has changed, because obviously you've got the network and whatever. It's literally, you can watch wrestling anywhere. And back when we were younger, like we just say, so I remember going to this wee market, a dodgy market in Glasgow called the Forge, which sometimes sells weird stuff, like dodgy blue, like copyright weird stuff, like what's it, copy DVDs. I forgot the name. What you would call it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, copy stuff.
Fake DVDs and stuff
like
that.
Burnt discs and stuff. That's it,
all that kind of stuff. So when I went there and I got like King of the Ring and 2 WCW ones, they were legit as well. They weren't fake, so they were more expensive. And I remember coming home watching them, and just like King of the Ring '99 was what really dove me into that kind of thing. And then I had Spring Stampede and Bash at the Beach '99, but that was hit for like 4 years because you could never find VHSs or DVDs anywhere for wrestling unless Asda maybe stocked them. And HMV didn't do it at that time, which was such a pain because you were trying to get wrestling. And then like now my kids are like, oh, can we just watch like WCW? And I'm like, so lucky. Sound like an old man sitting there.
I'm pretty much the same. Like my mum used to go to car boot sales, and we used to be able to pick up like old VHSs there. So I got like SummerSlam in '94 when it was Taker versus Taker. I remember having that as like one of my very first videotapes. So I used to watch that constantly. So yeah.
I mean, it's such a weird kind of the kind of generation that we're at as well. You've seen it come from like literally VHS, big blocky brick, and then it's into DVDs, Blu-rays, and then obviously everything's online. It's cool. I'm not complaining, but you don't.
What's the next step though? It's the next step from online. It's just crazy.
You'd just be able to have wrestling any way you want, which will be cool, but it probably would ruin the business even further than what it already kind of has, having so much access. And talking about like that kind of today, we always start with a positive. What's something that you like about today's wrestling community, world, or whatever you want to call it? For me, it's how much there is. But then on the flip side, that would be the negative as well. There's too much of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same, to be fair. I love wrestling, but it's like you've got like Raw, you've got SmackDown, NXT UK, 205 Live. There's too much to keep up with. You know, now I've got like a family, so it's like there's no way I can watch all this content. So yeah, I just stick to like Raw and SmackDown and sometimes NXT. Well, I've not really watched Raw and SmackDown in a while, to be fair, because it's kind of not really good. But
I would agree with you. It's not that great, but that's like you say. It's like we've got responsibilities, jobs, kids, family. You need to look after people, and then it's like
less time for it, to be fair. So yeah.
But even people that I speak to via like YouTube and stuff that are younger and they're like 18, 19, they don't even have time to sit and watch it because You've got WWE that's putting out 11 hours of content a week or 12, whatever it is.
It's just too much.
Then you've got
Way
AEW that's putting out their 6 or something. Then MLW, ROH, Impact. Like, it's just. And then you get that itch to go back and watch like an old WCW or something. You're like, where do I fit any of this in? Which is.
Yeah. It was much better back then because there was less content, I think. You know, so you were always kind of excited to see the show the following week kind of thing. So
and you just accepted what was there as well. If it was a bad show or a good show, you had no reference. It was just that's what wrestling was that week, so you had to watch it. But now you don't. And one thing that I always complain about is how accessible wrestling became. It's obviously it's good for a channel like mine that reviews wrestling. It's really accessible. But on the flip side of that is, why would I watch today's Raw when it's sometimes really dire to sit through those 3 hours of that that Raw?
I think 3 hours is too much as well. They need to cut it back down to 2. In all honesty, 3 hours is just way too much.
I'm on the same board. Like there's too much on a weekly basis. Like that's a pay-per-view length back when we were kind of watching wrestling more and sitting watching that every single Monday. When it's so bad creatively, like it's so like they say like they're writing it for kids, but my kids don't really watch new wrestling. They watch the older stuff, which is because the tomato throwing thing and that they were doing. My kids were like, "Why are they throwing tomatoes? It's wrestling. This is weird." Like my boy's turning 6 and he just cannot stand it. But he'll watch like WCW, NWA, that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping I can squeeze him in to try to go to training at some point when he's older. But I don't think he's going to do it. But like I was saying, man, see like how accessible it is. Why would you watch like a Raw like when they're throwing tomatoes or zombies, whatever, and you can just go watch like Stone Cold in his prime, Taker in his prime, when I can go watch all these guys having great matches? Why would I need to watch today's? As much as the workers are good, the creative side of it just hurts me. It really does.
The wrestlers of today are pretty amazing, to be fair, but I don't know. It is just the writing. I think they've got too much writers. I think that's what the problem is, you know. And I think it's like writers that actually have no clue about wrestling. So,
one of my friends works in WWE as a writer, and he's the only one in his team and there's teams, like there's literally teams of people. He's the only one in his team that's watched wrestling prior to being in wrestling. Like he's like, you try and talk to them about like old school kind of wrestling, and like, we don't watch it. Like we've not really seen wrestling. And he's like, why are you even working for a wrestling company if you haven't watched wrestling? That's like, it should be on your CV. Do you watch this? No, you can't get a job here.
How horrible would that be, working for WWE and being around people that have no clue about wrestling? Like, that'd be crazy.
He always rants to me as well. He's like these people are, because he's like a lower level writer, so he's not writing stories. He'll get given stuff to try and like piece out, and he's like, I try my best to piece this into some sort of like sense, but it makes no sense. He's like, it's just people that are writing like Hollywood style stuff, which doesn't work in wrestling, because I always describe wrestling like a circus. It attracts people that, like, nobody that's normal goes into wrestling, really. It's just people that are just like, you know what, I'm going to go wrestling because I don't really feel like I fit in with anything else that's going on in the world.
It's crazy, man.
I think but like you say, imagine getting a job in WWE and not even liking wrestling. Like, how would you even know what WWE stands for or what it is?
Yeah, I don't get how you could do that, to be fair. It's just weird. It's like if I went into, I don't know, like golf or something. I don't know anything about golf. It's just horrible.
Well, I'm the exact same. That's one of the sports that bores the living hell out of me. So in my real job, one of my clients is going to be he's a golf professional. So I need to kind of try and help him in my real job. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I literally do not know anything about golf at all. So they're like, we'll go with somebody else. And I'm like, go with somebody? I'm literally offering you to go with somebody else. I have no clue what I'm meant to be doing. Like tennis, I know. Like I've had a tennis customer one time, and I was like, I have no clue about tennis at all. And then they complain when they're like, oh no, we're happy with the work. And then they're like, but you don't like, you don't really know about tennis, do you? And I'm like, I've literally says to you, I do have no clue about tennis. It's not a sport that I would go out my way to like. So like, I'm going to
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to enjoy tennis, but that's what I've been dealing with this week in my personal life at work and stuff. Like when people are like, "Are you sure you know about tennis or golf?" And I'm like, I'm telling you, I don't. Like I'm saying, go somewhere else. Like go with another person because I don't have a clue. If you want me to do whatever you want me to do for you in tennis, I'm like, no, not going to work. And it's like, so I work in marketing and advertising, which is everybody hates marketing advertisers because we try and sell everything to people. But
Yeah.
working in that, and then somebody's like a golf person, like a shop, and then like a tennis coach, and you're like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't even know how I would market this because tennis has yellow balls. That's like the only thing that I know. Like, I don't fucking know any of this shit. But,
yeah, I know a little bit more about tennis because my mum watches it, but golf, on the other hand, no. I don't even understand the whole thing about it. It's a boring sport. Don't understand why anyone would watch it.
I know, and everybody always brings
each
up
to their own.
A Scottish person that invented it. I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't mean I need to like it. I don't know what it's about. I didn't invent it.
I mean, if people like that, that's fair enough. But yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
Obviously, everybody can like what they want and stuff like that, but I'm the exact same. Like, no. Those two are what I've been dealing with this week in my personal life, and I've been ranting about them all morning because, it's just back to wrestling.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going in like the next, say, 10 years or something? Would you see yourself maybe getting booked in Japan, America? Because
no, I don't see myself going over there. I mean, like like when you start early on, I think that is kind of like the goal. But like right now, I've got a family and all that. I wouldn't want to take my time away from the kids. I mean, right now, I kind of see it more as a hobby than wanting to do anything out with the country. Yeah. So I'm just happy where I am, to be fair. I'm not looking to go out to America or Japan or anything like that. I'm just happy.
And that's such a refreshing take as well. Like obviously, like you said, younger guys they don't have families and stuff. They're like, oh, I want to go to like WWE and Japan, which is a cool mindset to have as well. But also, like you're happy where you're as well. It's another important part of the journey, being happy where you're, because instead if you're always chasing the next thing, what you got to do when you get to Drew McIntyre stage, you're just going to be, what did I do? Just, I'm at the top. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm just happy being like at WrestleZone and like helping the younger guys coming through. It's nice to see them like get a chance and stuff. Hopefully, they'll be able to make it to other places that I've not had the chance to. So I think it's nice seeing like these people coming in and seeing them grow.
Definitely, man. I think it's, for me doing this podcast, I'm trying to get as many Scottish wrestlers on as possible. The UK wide. When I say Scottish, everybody always moans because I'm not saying the whole UK. I'm like, you know what I mean? Just everybody that's wrestling here. But there's so much talent. Like there's literally an endless pool of young guys coming through.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. A lot of talented ones as well. It's just crazy. There's such a selection now.
When I was younger, like when I started, you had the SWA, and that was it. Like if the SWA didn't, like used to train, the guy that we used to train with, he used to borrow their ring, and if they were wrestling it that weekend, you didn't have a ring, so you just were on the mats. But they wouldn't allow you to go in the ring anyway because it was like, it's like you might damage it. You need to work your way up to the ring, so you're just on these mats right next to the ring. Like I could be doing this in there. Can I not just go? Can I just go in there? And the only time they would allow you in is like when they were like try to get you ready for a show or to do like drill matches, whatever. But you're just on those little thin mats in an industrial estate, getting a hit when it's cold and stuff, and you're like, this is pretty hard. But there wasn't anywhere to go. Like there wasn't. It sounds terrible to say, but there wasn't that many opportunities in Scottish wrestling. There was like the SWA and maybe a few others that was just coming through. Like ICW was kind of coming through, but there wasn't really anywhere else to go. But now there's a wrestling show pretty much every town.
There's like sometimes I feel like it's a bit overpopulated. Like I just hope we don't see more new companies coming through. It's like there's too much.
But I think I think there's going to be a lot of new ones coming through after COVID because everybody's like, oh, wrestling in Scotland's doing good. I could set up a wee company, and like you said, it's going to cause like oversaturation of the market, because if I can,
Yeah, that's what I think, because Scotland's not a big place, so like you get too many companies, you know, it's going to be stepping in some other company's territory, so it wouldn't be good.
man,
Not in the long run, anyway.
I totally agree. Like, it's no, like you said, it's not a big place. There's not that many cities either that have got the most people that are living in it. It's like 4, 5, I think. But
Yeah,
it's not that big of a place. You kind of want to try and do those big cities because that's where more people live, and then you're going to be stepping on people's toes and stuff like that. And the other day I was talking to a guy in America, which you understand for being from Scotland, but if you need to do like a 2-hour drive or something, it's like, oh, it's such a long drive. But the guy was like, oh, I just drove like 6 hours to go to training, and I was like, what the in 6 hours you would leave Scotland?
so normal over there though. Like they drive for like 16 hours and stuff like that to get to the other place. It's crazy.
I bet, like here, I was saying, like if you drive like 6 hours, you just leave Scotland in any direction, you would end up in the ocean or down in England.
Pretty much.
Because I was like,
yeah,
and he was like, I just to go to work, like just his normal job. He's like, I just drive like 4 hours. And I was like, how, where, why? But no, like if somebody was like, you need to drive 4 hours to go to a job, I'd be like, away and chase yourself. Like 20 minutes walk is like, I'm not got, that's a bit much, but I suppose you get accustomed to where you live. Scotland's a small place, like you said.
That's crazy. No, screw that. But no,
I always love talking to Americans when they say like, oh, 6-7 hour drive, and then you're like, in Scotland, a 6-7 hour drive is literally either a different country in England or you're in the ocean.
yeah, that's crazy. But you know, if that they're used to that, so they wouldn't know any different.
Aye, and plus their roads are pretty straight. Our roads go like round massive fucking mountains that take you like a 7-hour drive to like somewhere you need to go around like 6 mountains and stuff like that. So it's not really comparable.
Well, yeah, but then you've got America that have got like teenagers that drive. You know, I don't know if I would trust that.
Aye.
Like, what is it like? They're allowed to be 15 when they drive over there.
I think so, man. That's which is.
I don't think I could trust that.
If I was allowed to drive when I was 15, I wouldn't trust myself. Like I was not. Like I didn't have any sort of responsibility. I wasn't a responsible person at 15. I wouldn't say I'm a responsible person today either. So
yeah, I don't think a lot of 15-year-olds are responsible enough to be on the road, though. To be fair, so yeah, I don't think I'd be able to trust being in America with all that. A lot of car accidents is due to teenagers as well. So you know,
definitely. Sometimes I think when I look out here, because in Glasgow, it's a lot of stuff changing. We have like no emission zones. I'm not sure what it's like in Aberdeen. Like in our city centre, you have like a no emission zone when it's like you can't really. If you park there, it's higher. There's like a certain amount of time you need to spend in the city centre before you need to leave. They want you to park like, outside it to come in, and it's like trying to promote green energy stuff. And people always get confused. Like Scotland's totally different. Like Glasgow can have like something happening here. Edinburgh will have something different. Aberdeen's got something different. Like it's different rules at certain parts. Everybody's got the same kind of law, but the rules of the cities are like so different, which is a pain to understand as well.
Yeah, especially if you're not from that area and you're going in. But yeah, I can't remember what's going on in Aberdeen. Because I just live outside Aberdeen, but like I try my best not to go out unless I'm going to work. You know, just because of this pandemic. You know, I'm trying to stay in as much as possible. So, yeah.
Man, I've been the same. So I'm working from home. The only time I go out is when I'm taking like, the kids to the nursery or school, and it's so like it's weird. Like obviously when we were last year, when it was everybody had to kind of just everything was shut. There was no school, so try to teach them like maths and alphabet. Because my son was just going to start primary 1, so he was in nursery, and there's like a level you need to hit. So I had to like try and teach him the alphabet, like the phonemic, whatever it's called, alphabet, numbers, all that kind of stuff. I like adding, subtracting. I'm like, I've not been at school for like 10 years with you, or 12 years, whatever it is. Like, how am I don't use this in my daily life.
I think we all kind of realised how hard it is for a teacher to teach children. It's crazy. I was so happy when the kids went back to school. I was like, thank God for that.
the other day I said the exact same thing, and somebody was like on Twitter DM me and was like, "Oh, you must hate your kids," and I'm like, "No, I don't hate my kids. I love my kids, but it's good to just get them away for a wee bit because you'll know what it's like. It's consistent, everyday questions, just everything.
Yeah.
Like, why are you questioning so much?" And then they ask you a question, you're like, "I've never actually thought about why hedgehogs have spikes. Like, why have you asked me this? No, I need to go Google it."
Yeah. Plus, I think they'll learn better at school as well because there won't be distractions at home. Like my
Plus,
kids were just distracted all the time. And it was like,
definitely, man.
no, sit down.
You're trying to oh, you need to sit down and do this, and they're like, "Why?" And you're like, "I was at school. I didn't really pay attention. I don't really know why, but you need to know this
Or
for
like,
some reason."
or like every 20 minutes, they're like, can we watch TV? Can we go play Fortnite? Can we go play Minecraft? I'm like, no, get this done first.
And so it was like when they went back, like you says, it was cool, and being able to take them out and getting to go out yourself. Because I think there was a period when, so I tore my calf muscle last year, so it was like a period of like 2 months when I didn't even get to leave the house because I couldn't really walk. And then when I went outside, I was like, this is like different trees and stuff. I felt like I was out of prison or something like that.
Yeah, man, I know what you mean.
Talking about COVID, obviously, since it's still here and everybody's annoyed with it, how have you felt dealing with no being able to work, no like training wrestling wise? How have you felt? Has it helped you a little bit improve your character, or have you just been missing it?
I actually like it. It's given me a bit more time with the family, and I know a lot of people are missing it, but I think it's a good thing. For like, I think it's good for like a lot of the wrestlers that have like little injuries and won't take time off.
Yep.
This is their time to kind of heal up and stuff. But I've not really missed it as much as you would think. I've been just enjoying it. And when we do get back, it'll be a bit more refreshing and a little bit more like, okay, we've not done this in a while, so I'm kind of feeling it more. So yeah, it's been fine.
Man, I feel the exact same way. So I started this wrestling channel because of COVID, because I was like, I need to do something, because literally, so at the start, my work is totally based at that time on like restaurants and stuff that people had to come to and all them closed. Yeah. So I didn't really have a job at the start. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and get back into wrestling. And I was like, no, try and get back into watching it, like trying to do something with it. So I started this channel, and I got to spend a ton of time with my kids and stuff. I felt like I caught up with them, if that makes sense. Like, because like, I was working a lot, wasn't really spending as much time as possible as I could, and then teaching them and watching them grow up and stuff like that. It was really refreshing to be able to spend a lot of time with them. Watch wrestling is pretty much what I was doing most of the lockdown. And like you say, there's a lot of people are obviously like, oh, I've missed wrestling and like I really can't wait to get back. But I think it does need like a little just stop, like just
I think
slow it down.
I think it's be good. A bit of a break is a good thing, I think like some wrestling could get like a bit stale. And like I think when I'm just thinking about like when we do get back to shows and fans get back in, just imagine like how loud they're going to be, because they haven't seen wrestling in so long. I think it'll be good.
Man, I totally agree. I think that when people get back in, it's going to be so fun, like for the wrestlers and for the fans as well. But like you say, that is cool just having that little kind of stop, like just a wee break for it to refresh everybody, work on their characters or whatever they're going to be doing, and then when they come back, they're going to be given an insane amount of effort to these guys. Which I've been invited to like 6 shows so far already throughout the last part of the year, and I'm like, I'm not going to have time to like do anything, so it's going to be it's going to be fun to kind of just be out there again and be able to like travel. And I'm gutted, man. So when I was 28 when COVID started, I turned 29 in the lockdown, and then obviously it keeps getting extended by a week, like at level 3 in Glasgow, because like the new variant thing. And obviously Glasgow's the biggest city, but like the most populated city in Scotland, which is when people are complaining like, oh, why does it keep spreading? Because there's so many of us in the same wee city. Like, it's not a big city, and there's millions. Most of Scotland either travel, work, or live in Glasgow, and that's why it's always the rest of Scotland doesn't really like us, because it's such a busy city. But I'm turning 30 in June the 10th, and I'm like, please don't extend it till I just want to be able to like go get a pint or go to the cinema or something, just to do something different. Don't extend it to my 30th, because that's 2 birthdays in lockdown, and I don't think I can take it.
Yeah, I think we've opened up our cinemas and stuff like that up here. So like, yeah.
But you're not allowed to. It's weird as well, because it's like this weekend coming. So not obviously no today, but the weekend coming, I'm going to be doing like it's a challenge thing. I try and do a challenge every month. So last month I walked like 50 miles. The month before that I'd done like 15,000 burpees. I ran 48 miles before that. This month it's like a camping thing. So I need to do 2 days. It's 25 miles a day, and it takes me into the middle of like nowhere to camp. But I go through like two districts, and I'm like, am I allowed to like go into somebody? Because like Glasgow's like, obviously you've got the city centre. Like Glasgow city centre is where I live, and then you've got Greater Glasgow, and it's like,
okay.
Then you've got obviously Lanarkshire and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, am I allowed to travel between? Like, am I allowed to walk out of them? And then it's like, but some people's houses are like, and then like the street just ends, so one side's Glasgow and the other side's like Lanarkshire, and it's like, can you cross the street? I don't know, but like you haven't specified the rules, and I've actually emailed like my local MP to be like, can you like, is this all right? And the guy's like, I think so. Like, I'm pretty certain you'd be, if you're just out like doing like a walk because it's fitness, it'd be fine. But I'm like, like we're going to different districts, like you said, in Aberdeen cinemas are opened. Am I allowed to travel to Aberdeen and then come back, or is that like? I don't even think the people who make the rules up really know what they're doing. They're like, just hopefully this works. Which
I don't know,
because I was like,
I don't know.
Because obviously Glasgow's 25 miles wide. Like, I know people in America and stuff and Australia won't understand. Like, cities aren't that big in Scotland. There's a couple of miles wide and that's it. But so, like 25 miles will take me like through 3 different districts, and I'm trying to find out. Like I says, the MP guy was like, I think it would be fine because I'm camping. I'm no near anybody else. But I honestly, it boggles my mind. Like in Aberdeen, I'm sure you can go inside like bars and stuff, and then but in Glasgow we can't. But we need to sit outside, and it's like, but if I get a train to Aberdeen, is that like breaking the rules, or I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. That's the only thing that's annoying me just there.
Yeah, I have no idea on that, but I'm assuming it means that you can't come up this way. I'm not too sure.
And then it's like, how do they police that as well? Like, how do we? If I was coming up there, like, how did it go? Oh, sorry, you need to like head back. Like, it doesn't make any, because there's trains that go to Aberdeen. Obviously, people work and stuff like that, and like, so I literally don't. I don't know. I'm just assuming that if you're in Glasgow, stay inside until they say you're allowed to go back outside, and then you can travel somewhere. But if, like I said, I'm going camping, so I'm literally in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like going through like 3 districts, and I'm like, am I breaking the rules or what? And even the guys that I'm asking, they're like, no got a clue. Like, we'll ask for you. Hopefully you can get a better answer. But I've asked like Police Scotland in case they will like try to pull you up and they're like, oh, where do you live? And they were like, it should be fine. Like, we don't see there would be an issue, but they don't know. I'm like, it's such a weird situation. But hopefully I don't need to try and go camp and then turn back and they'll be like, sorry, you can't come back in here. And I'm like, where do I go then?
Well, if the police is saying that it'll be okay, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I know, but it's just such a weird. I think like specify things, like somebody give us. No, obviously COVID's serious and stuff like that. People are losing their lives, but it's like, give us rules. Like, let us know what we're meant to do. But that's another moan that I'm having, man.
That's all right. Yeah.
But see, the weekend, that's normally when I de-stress and then start moaning about the rest of the week that's just happened.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
So back to wrestling again. We're in tangents moaning about how small Scotland is and how confusing COVID rules are. But back to wrestling. What's the wrestling kind of scene in Aberdeen like? Because I remember when I was younger, I wrestled for a small show outside Aberdeen. It was literally in like a wee like sports complex. I think it was like Elgin or something. It was. I can't. It wasn't Elgin because that's know the name that rings a bell. But it was like in the middle of nowhere. So it was like a small village. We went and wrestled there, and it was like 6 people turned up. I think there was only like 6 people in this village, but it was like that was a pure unusual thing to have a wrestling show up there. Like, it was like people were like, oh, the last time we had a wrestling show here was like 1992 or something like that. That was like, alright, that's long ago. But what's it like now? Is it?
Where was that show that you were at?
Man,
what company was it for?
It was for a company called UCW. I don't even think they're around anymore. They were. I'm pretty certain they were there for like.
I'm trying to think of where they might have went, but no, Aberdeen's actually a good scene. Like, one of our main venues is the Northern Hotel, and we get like over 200 people there. Like anytime we're performing there, the scene up here is really good because we don't have any other wrestling companies that kind of are around, so it's just us. They're like everywhere we go, we always get a good crowd. I mean, we go to like outside Aberdeen, like Aberdeenshire, like the little towns. They're not as good, but like when we do our Aberdeen shows, we're always hitting over the 200 mark. And like every time we went to the Beach Ballroom, we did 1,000 plus. So yeah, like it's really good up here, the scene, I think.
I think it could have been Inverness. I think it was somewhere outside Inverness because it was like.
Yeah, I'm thinking now that you said the company, I think they were like just outside Inverness, like just
think
above
so.
it.
I think so. It's one of those like weird middle of like nowhere villages and
somewhere like Wick or something like that, possibly.
I think that could have been it. Aye, but it was like I think the company was only there for like a year or something. Like they travelled around a little bit, and then they probably changed their name, became somebody else. But they weren't really.
Did they do like the same card every time as well?
No.
Like
I'm trying to say they had the similar. Like the main event was always quite similar.
Yeah.
But then like the lower card would have changed because I remember that was one of I think it's like my fourth show that I was on, and I went and there was like nobody there. But I was like the pre-show. Now like the people are coming in and you're still like a wrestling, which is the most annoying spot to ever wrestle in when people are like shuffling in, moving their chairs and stuff like that. I know it's only like 10 people or whatever it was, and it was like they're shuffling their chairs, but it's even more intimidating when it's 10 people and you're trying to wrestle and you're like, just sit down, let me watch what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
But I'll look up what the place. Hopefully I've wrote it down somewhere because I keep like pretty like I normally write down what I've got. Hopefully I've kept it somewhere. I'll look it up and I'll message it. But I've totally forgot. It was one of those. It must have been Inverness. It couldn't have been Aberdeen because I think I would remember that. But Inverness, I'm sure it was like one of those like wee mini villages that are there. And
yeah.
But a lot of people forget as well in Scotland there is like you've got your big cities and then it's just like this whole wee mini village that might have like 10 houses and there's nothing. Yeah. There's no internet. There's no McDonald's. There's
a lot of them up this way.
Aye, I was telling an American, or there's like villages that have like nothing. Like some of them don't even have like internet access yet, or they're just getting internet access, and they were like, "That's insane." And I'm like, I know, like it's Scotland's a hard place to live sometimes because it's always cold, rainy, and if you walk outside the big cities, there's obviously smaller kind of cities and villages and stuff, but then there's like the wee mini ones that have nothing, which is people forget that people still live like that in like a modern country.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's mental.
I mean, when I was doing like my work kind of thing, we went so far that we went from like Glasgow and you had like the pylons and stuff like that, like tons of them, and it was like a shithole. Glasgow's a shithole. Everybody knows that. When you start to leave and you go out these weird kind of areas, and then you go into like, well, I've got cows and stuff, and you're like, well, this is weird. And then you go out even further, and it's like just nothing, and it's for miles around you, just nothing of like one house, and it's like this is such a relaxing place. Then when you get back to Glasgow, it's like pylons, this weird background fizzing noise and stuff like that.
See, I like the middle of nowhere. I think it's I like the quieter life a lot more than a city centre. I think it's much easier.
I'm the same. I only live in the city centre because of my work. It's so close to my house.
Yeah.
But then when I'm starting to look at moving out to the middle of nowhere because of COVID and stuff. I can able to get a bit of land, go for some walks and stuff instead of from just being stuck in the house.
I remember I used to go to my uncle's house, and I can't remember whereabout it was, but his house was in the middle of nowhere, and there was only like one other house in that area. And see, at nighttime, it was like try to take the dog out at nighttime, and it's like there's no lights. It's like you can't even see him. Just yeah, I like that. I like that a lot better. I like the quiet life much better.
I'm 100%. That's why I'm going to go camping this time as well, because when we done that walk, it was like so quiet and relaxing. So I wanted to add camping into it. So we're out there in the middle of nowhere, but again, there's no lights. It's just pitch black. There's nothing, and obviously people, I don't know, people normally watch this. They're in big cities, like I always say America, but Canada, all those kind of areas that have like huge cities. But then, like in Scotland, our huge cities are like a small town for them, and then like 5-minute walk, and it's just like there's no streetlights. Like if you want to find where you're going, you need a torch. Like at night time, in the winter, anything after 3:00 in the afternoon, that's you. You need to get a torch out because it's the sun's set.
Yeah.
So, where do you see wrestling scene kind of in Aberdeen going? Do you think it's going to get bigger when it comes back, or do you think it's going to kind of stay the same?
I think it'll get bigger. I mean, I think it just all depends on where WrestleZone goes with it. I mean, there's a lot of younger guys coming through. You know, can only get better, really. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we keep continuing growing our fan base. You know, we've got a lot of regulars that come along to our shows that are they're crazy fans. But I don't see them going away anytime soon, and it's a good thing because they make it much more entertaining. You know, when they're really involved, because when they start getting involved, then you get the other fans that aren't reacting as much. They get involved because of them, so it's good. I think it'll get bigger.
I'm dying to get into more coming up to Aberdeen and stuff like that, and seeing like the wrestling scene up there, because I left wrestling in 2010. Must have been 10 because I broke my neck. So I decided that they were like, you shouldn't be doing this anymore, because I was silly, didn't go get it checked out for 7 weeks. And then when
that's so good.
I flew back then, so I was in Holland and I flew back here, and then I went to doctors and he was like, you've like broke your neck. Like why? What were you doing? Like, how did you get back? Like, how were you still like moving and stuff? But it was like you kind of need to stop doing wrestling for a while, and then real life happens. You know, like jobs and family and all that other kind of stuff, and you just end up, you know, just forgetting to go back to wrestling training because you're too busy with the real world. But
how's the neck now?
It's great, man. It's literally, this lockdown stuff has been the best period ever. I've fully rested my neck. Because I was a silly person that decided. So after I rested it for 6 months, I think it was, and I decided to do MMA. And I went, I was doing like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, freestyle kind of Greco-Roman wrestling. And then I was in Muay Thai and somebody kicked me just on the side of the head. I was off for like another year because I don't think I re-broke it, but it just was really sore. But I'm one of those people that gets injured and they just don't go to the doctor because, I don't know, I don't want to waste their time. Like, I feel like, even though I pay tax and stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go waste it. It's all right. It'll heal up. Like when I tore my calf muscle, I didn't go to the doctor either. And then I had to take my daughter, and they were like, to ask it, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. I tore my calf muscle, and they were like, you do know you have to come to the hospital to make sure that you've not really damaged it. But they said everything was fine. It's healed up perfectly normal, but I'm one of those people that just don't go to the hospital because I'm like, I don't want to waste their time. Like I'm not dying. Like I'll go when I'm dying.
yeah, I know what you mean. That's crazy though.
But I know, man, I feel great. Like I literally, talking to you guys is the worst thing ever because I'm like, I really want to start getting back into it. Like maybe learn to train again, start at the bottom, maybe do like manager stuff or something. I don't know if I would probably go back into wrestling, but maybe do like manager shit or something. Yeah. I'm like, I would love to get back into it, but I'm like, I don't want that ball to start rolling, because if I did do that and I start doing the manager stuff, and then I'll be like, maybe I could take a bump, maybe then I could start wrestling again, maybe I should, and I don't want to end up before you know it, I'm in there with tights back on, like, back in here again.
No, I know what you mean. I was kind of like the same when I broke my hip. a few years back, I wasn't sure if I was going to be back, but I think because I was around training all the time, I didn't really go home and just stay there. I was coming to training every week on my crutches, and I think once I was healed, it was like, yeah, I just want to come back.
Yeah, man. I think. How did you manage to break your hip? Was it an in-ring accident or was it something outside?
Yeah, so I was wrestling Scotty Swift at the Beach Ballroom in 2016, and we were the main event. I went to the whole thing was I couldn't get the 1-2-3 on him, so I was like thinking, right, I'm gonna go to the top rope, something outside the box, like something I wouldn't normally do for my character, and when I jumped off the top rope, like one of my knees was slightly up, so I wasn't like flat out.
Right.
So when I hit the canvas, my knee just pushed my hip right up, and my hip socket just exploded. And when I got to the hospital, they said that it looked like I was involved in a car accident. So
fucking hell, man. I was going to say, was it sore? Obviously, it was sore. That was the stupidest question.
Yeah.
Was it sore?
It was more panic when it happened. Like when Scott was covering me for the finish, I told the referee as Scott was pinning me, look, something's not right with me, blah blah blah. And it wasn't until the adrenaline wore off that I really felt the pain. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrible. And I was lying in the ring for like an hour because there was like parades going on or something like that. So the ambulances did get there for like an hour. And the good thing is we were the main event. So like as soon as the match finished, people start getting out the venue. But we sat there and thought, could you imagine if that was like the first match on the show?
But
I'm lying there for an hour.
Like, just walk around me. I'm just going to be lying here in the worst pain of my life.
I'll just lie in this corner. No, it was awful. But as soon as the paramedics came in, they gave me gas. And from that point, I literally can't remember a thing. I was just out of it.
So when I broke my neck, I always tell people it was like a pile driver or like a cool move. But I'm not that cool, man, to be wrestling and actually injure myself. I was on the outside of the ring. So the ropes are there. I was on the outside, and we were getting it set up, and then I think I was off with a knee injury for a couple of weeks. Okay. But I was doing like just kind of outside the ring stuff from one of my friends, and I was on the side kind of practicing what I was going to be doing, and for to this day do not know how I managed to do it. I slipped off the ring, but I landed so I fell that way and just landed up right on top of my head on the floor. There wasn't any mats there, so it was just a hard floor, and my neck just went like. Then I remember getting up and being like, cause I'd obviously being younger, I was like 18, 19 when it happened. I didn't want to let my friend in. I was like, no, I need to continue doing this. So I stupid me just took a bunch of painkillers, and I was like, oh, the pain will go away. It didn't. It got worse. But I was just out there doing what I had to do. And we had 3 other shows, so I went there with him, and then we were coming back home, and I think it was my mum's birthday or something. I came back home and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll go up to the Royal the Royal Infirmary in Glasgow, and then went to A&E, and the guy was like, I'll take you for some X-rays and stuff, and then he's like, you've broke your neck, like you can't. How? He's like, I'm going to be honest with you here. It's the stupidest thing you've ever done. Like that was just silly. No coming here straight away and waiting like just over a month.
Yeah.
But that was totally on my fault. It was nothing cool. I used to tell people, oh, it was a pile driver landed on my neck and ended my career. But I'm older now, so I'm just stupid. It was nothing cool.
Yeah.
It was a really, but like you said, when I went there, the guy was like, cool, we need to keep you in for I think I stayed in the hospital for like 2 days just to make sure everything was all right. But he was like, you've been dealing with it for 7 weeks, so you kind of, you know what you're going to be doing. I had to go to physio and I had to make sure like I didn't have any horrible like neck injuries. The worst thing is what happens now is sometimes when it gets really cold, my neck clicks, but it's like somebody slams a door or something and it makes that wee clicky noise. Like that's what it sounds like in my neck. Sounds like there's a weird joint. But apart from that, it's great. And well, you've got a cool story. You were in a match. You done a move. It looked like a car crash. I was just the stupidest person in the world and slipped off the side of the ring.
Yeah. Nah, it's crazy though. Like I was in the hospital for 2 weeks when I broke my hip, and honestly, I couldn't wait to get home. It was awful because I was lying on my back for like a week and a half, so I wasn't even allowed to do anything. I just had to lie on my back, and like I had like sores on my back and stuff, because just lying on it constantly. It was awful.
I mean, when I was there, so the reason they kept me in for like 2 days was to make sure, obviously, everything was fine. Like I wasn't like my head wasn't going to like just drop off one day. But they were like, no, it's fine. Like it's serious, but we can take you home with like a neck brace. And if you ever had a neck brace on, it's like the most uncomfortable thing ever. It's got your head like kind of slightly up, so you're like looking down at people, and it's so annoying. But every like third day, I had to keep going to like this physio thing, and then go to my normal GP who would like examine my neck, and if there was like some like swelling or whatever, I would have to go to the hospital. And it was just such an it sounds pretty stupid because obviously they're trying to make sure that I was healthy, like my neck was going to get better, but it was such like a terrible time of just dealing with having to be in hospitals continuously. And I think that's why I don't like going to them. Like today, just you know what it's like for your hip, like when you're in there, it's so boring. And then obviously they're there to get you healthy, it's not meant to be entertaining, but like there's nothing to do. It's just you're sitting there just so like
I was okay because I had my phone on me, so I just had Netflix. So I just watched Netflix for 2 weeks.
Back in 2010, I don't even think there was Netflix, was there? I think if you had Netflix was there, you had to get it delivered to your door or something like that.
I can't remember if Netflix was a thing then.
I don't probably know in Scotland because we're always late to take up on the rest of the world. But I was like, it was just I just remember being sitting there in that hospital and being like, this is the most boringest thing ever. And it was when you had everybody had a BlackBerry back then, so it was like. And I was like, I don't even want to sit on this phone and listen to these people going out on like night suits. So then when I was in the house, first thing I done was took a neck brace off, went to bed, woke up the next day. Obviously you're sleeping, you're rolling around in your bed, and I had to go back up to the hospital. And the doctor was like, if you take this off again, you need to keep this on for at least 4 or 5 weeks when you're at physio and stuff like that. So if you take it off again, we will need to probably do surgery on it because you're going to hurt it for years to come. But aye, that's just talking about our old man injuries. But heading up for the end of the podcast, man, we've got 3 questions. 2 that I sent you, 1 that I never send anybody because I like to see them kind of hum and haw at it. So we'll go through the first 2 first. So who's your favourite wrestler of all time? What's a guy you would be like, that's my favourite? Now, you can pick more than one, but...
Undertaker's my main one. Undertaker and then Bret Hart. Bret Hart. And then I'd say Shawn Michaels. They would be my top 3.
That's pretty a cool top list, man. Isn't it? Like there's you can't really go wrong with saying those 3 guys because
I kind of missed out Stone Cold there because Stone Cold is in my list as well. But yeah, there's too many. I like them all. I like them all. Taker's at the top though.
I'm the exact same. Let's see when somebody asks me this. The reason I asked the question, it's a cool conversation starter because the minute you say somebody, you're like, oh no, I should have said this other person or should I say that? And then you're like, before you know
I've got a long list, but I can't put them in order. It's horrible.
When I'm the same. I done a top 10 video one time and it was like my top 10 wrestlers and I put it up there. I took it down. Like I recorded it, listened to it, got it ready to go up and I took it down because I was like, this is going to change by the time it goes up because it's going to... You can't just pick this. You know what it's like. But one of my favourites at the minute is Ravish and Rick Rude. Like I've literally been on a binge of his like WCW period. It's just been so fun recently because it was something I didn't see when I was younger, and gone back and watching it's just really fun. But of all time, I'd probably say Sting. So we're on opposite ends of the fence. I'm Sting, you're Taker. Wish we got that match, and I would still be happy if they just walked out and spoke to each other in the ring at this point. But So second question is, man, what's your favourite event of all time? Everybody picks WrestleMania 17. You can go for that, but it can be one that you were on or whatever.
Favourite event? I'm trying to think. See, it's a hard one because like I've got like certain matches I like from certain events,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say the whole event was good.
You
Jesus.
even do your favourite match then. If obviously, I always say as well that question's a conversation starter because it's like I might not like the whole event, but it's got this really cool main event or a really cool middle point. But you can even just do your favourite match or a couple of your favourite matches, whatever.
Bret Hart versus Stone Cold. I Quit match from WrestleMania 13, I think it was.
Yeah.
Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, their first one.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania. I can't remember what Mania that was. Yeah, I would say they were my top ones.
Great list again, man. So the last question is one that if everybody hums and haws it, so you'll have your answer either straight away or you'll hate me for asking it. So we'll see. What I'll do is I'll ask the question, I'll tell you my answer, and then you can let me know what yours is. So if you could add yourself to or replace anybody in any match in history, what would it be? For me, it's my favourite match ever, SummerSlam 94, the blue steel cage, Bret versus Owen. I'd replace Owen if I could wrestle as good as Owen Hart because I broke my neck standing inside the ring, so I would probably mess it up if I wasn't as good as Owen, but that's my favourite match of all time. I think it's one of the best steel cage match ever, and I would replace Owen in that one. What would your one be?
So who am I replacing the wrestler with?
You can yourself. So you can. Who would you replace? Or you could add yourself to the match. Now, I always use as well Taker versus Kurt Angle at No Way Out 06. I would replace the referee. So you can do something like that as well because that match is great as well. Just if nobody's seen it. Yeah.
That's a hard quit. That's a hard one. Probably Bret and Austin. I'd replace myself with Stone Cold.
just like Stone Cold doesn't need that push. He would get there eventually. I need the push. I need the shine. Plus to be in there with Bret would be. That's why.
Exactly. Bret would be awesome to be in there with like
that steel cage because that's one of my favourite matches. Plus the two guys just work incredible in it, and I'm like, if I could work as good as Owen, then I would make me look good being in there. So I would feel great. But like you said, if you were in there against Bret, it'd be fantastic. He's pretty much going to carry the match, isn't he? Like he's too good to.
He could make anyone look good, in his prime. He would make anyone look good. So it wouldn't matter who they were.
Definitely.
I think he could make the Great Khali look good, for Christ's sake. So.
You've seen some of the people that he used to work with. So I do like a watch along for 1993 Raw, and some of the people that he used to work with back then were just like, there was a wrestler called Bobby Who. So it's just like jobbers, like nobody even knew. And it's like, why are these guys like wrestling like Bret Hart, but then they make him look good? And it's just to be like, just to put that on a Raw. And I always love to say, imagine that happened today. You had like, Drew McIntyre against Bobby Who, like somebody that nobody knows, like nobody has a clue who he is. You'd be like, this is shit. Why am I doing this? But man, thanks for taking the time out today, being on the podcast. Where would you like people to go check you out first? Do you want them to go find you on YouTube or Facebook, Twitter? Where would you like people to go check you first?
I'm pretty active on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've even got TikTok now. But yeah, no, my name is just Crusher Craib. You can find me easily on any of them.
Definitely, man. How are you finding TikTok? Because I set it up for this channel and it does not work for me at all. I don't know how to do it at all.
It took a while, but I've gotten used to it. But I prefer just watching things rather than uploading things. So there's just some crazy stuff. It's like, what is going on? Some of the videos are just nuts.
See the amount of facts that you learn from TikTok as well, like genuine people just giving you like weird facts, and like that's a really cool thing. So I've got all this mad random shit in my head just now, but I get what you mean. I just sit and watch it, and then when I upload to be like, oh, there's a video up, I don't even know what to say. I'm like, this is so awkward. I don't know how people do this. But man, thanks for taking the time to come on. Your links are in the description below.
No worries.
And I'll tell you when this is going to go up and stuff after this. So if you just wait there, I'll end the podcast.